So what I would write, maybe one line is that, the basically it talks about empowerment of human beings. So because integrity provides an individual courage to stand up to any kind of injustices wherever it happens, right? That empowers any individual who practices this particular value or something. Basically, I'm giving an idea here, like, you are person of integrity, you have the courage to stand up to any injustice anywhere, right? And then maybe you can define what is integrity. You must define integrity. After defining integrity, you should also define what do you mean by empowerment here. Empowering human being. So like, what do you mean by empowerment here? Like empowerment in what sense? No, that we don't call it as integrity. So like what Hitler had was, nice, integrity is a positive concept. Always. Yeah, so of course, like you, in the answer you define integrity and define what do you mean, what is your definition of empowerment of human being? Like what do you mean by empowerment of human being? So we talk about empowerment in terms of having, various choices in life to choose something from. In terms of having income security, in terms of social security, that can be empowerment, right? Enhancing one's capability, that can be empowerment. But in this case, when you have integrity, what is the definition of empowerment? Good, nice. So it actually, when you are a person of integrity, so you will have a better opportunity to build a strong social capital, right? So you will build trust. Like if you are an officer with integrity, right? So you are better suited to govern. The people will trust more and more numbers, right? So that is one way. What are the 3-4 dimensions? You can ask few questions. Why and how that integrity empowers? Why and how that integrity empowers human being? So what is the process involved here? So you are a person of integrity, right? Now the quote is saying that it will empower human beings. Why and how that happens is the answer that is required in this question. Then you have to justify with suitable illustration, that why and how you have to justify with suitable illustration. So your illustration go for two kind of examples. One example from the life of thinkers, teachers, administrators, leaders, that is there in the syllabus. So another example which you have observed or which you have read in a story or something, like, or your own experience also, right? So there should be two examples, one drawn from the life of the great people, another either from the scripture, some other kind of story kind of stuff here. And then in the conclusion, what will you write for conclusion in these kind of answers? Nice. So he's saying that people who practice integrity in the life will face lots of problems, but at the end of the day, they have more peace of mind, or their conscience is clear and pure. So they have better sleep. So that's what he's saying. Any other conclusion? Definitely you can write. Anything else? Any, in the light of any issue or any crisis, any event, can you write that conclusion? Now we talk about empowerment every day, right? Empowerment of women, empowerment humans, empowerment of everyone. But in our policy, in our day-to-day business of the government, do we consider this aspect? So we don't consider it, right? So maybe you can say that this can be brought as, yeah. See, try to stay away from KMK example and all. I mean, nowadays, so you go for better examples. Yeah. So in both essay and ethics paper, so never go for cliched, obvious, generic examples. So in essay what happens, so we see, if there is essay about values and all, we start seeing so much about Vivekananda, APJ Abdul Kalam, Mother Teresa, right, Sudha Murthy nowadays, and so many other people. So in across the essays we see these kind of examples. Even in ethics answers also we see these kind of Khemka, Durga Shakti Nagpal, Satyendra Jain. There are few more officers. Armstrong Pame. So if you know these kind of things, you definitely mention them, but not the obvious generic TN session maybe. See, like put extra effort. That is what is required in these. Now you think with respect to the competition. So you may be thinking that you are writing better example, but someone else is also writing similar examples. So try to collect better examples. There are hundreds of other personalities, and you need not be personality. I was talking about another student, like it was the essay was about journey. It's a life is a long journey from human being to being human. So I was talking about one of the dimension. Like there was this point that this journey starts from the moment of the birth of the human being or something, right? So I talked about, so what about the child? The child is innocent. It is already more humane than all the adult humans, right? So so where is the point that, this being humane, the journey starts, right? Now, what kind of examples you can start thinking about it, right? This is one dimension. When it comes to example, I was just saying that, there is book Metamorphosis, Franz Kafka, I think. Right? There is book of Crime and Punishment. There is a character who goes through so much of turmoil and, right, because he has committed a crime. Then the child example I was talking about Oliver Twist, the child character in the book. So there are characters within fictions and within, these epics, or it can be a story of Lord Ram, or some character in Mahabharata, Ramayana also, right? So try to bring even those personalities as examples also, right? So you need not go with the real life people all the time. Coming to GS4, what will fetch more marks? So I have seen at least 2 to 3 mistakes made in the GS4 papers. So I'll start with the case studies. So in the case studies, everybody has the habit of, writing this circle diagram, highlighting stakeholders as introduction, right? And then writing facts of the case, putting a table or something. So the case studies are given with a purpose. So basically they are testing your problem solving skills, right? Your ability to identify ethical issues and how you are going to resolve them, right? So for me it is like a mini essay. So the way you write ethics case study, you are communicating to the evaluator that you have understood the significance of the case study. So what is the context? So what are the core issues of the case? And what is the most important fact of the case? And over all the stakeholders in the case, combine them and write a paragraph as introduction instead of separately highlighting stakeholder diagram. So you are unnecessarily wasting 1/3 space in your answer booklet when you write stakeholders. It doesn't have any value addition, right? So now I am not looking for that part. I am not more interested. So where I am more interested is the innovative way, or out of the box thinking, or the ethical justifications you give to resolve an issue. So the mistake I have seen is that when somebody asks you to resolve a case study, to resolve a crisis or any ethical dilemma, when you are writing course of action, people write, I will do this X method, I will follow this X method. For example, let us say that you want to rescue a child from a child labor. So he is working in a hazardous situation, you want to rescue the child, and you might write that maybe you are an officer with very good salary and well settled family with your own kids. So now you see a kid and you have to rescue that kid. So you might start, what will you do in that situation? One of the options could be maybe you will temporarily, like, take that child to your home, right? Maybe give him certain shelter, maybe temporarily. Another option could be you will take him to any rehabilitation center, a child care center, and you will put him in there. Another option, you sponsor his education, you will put him in a residential school, you will look after his expenses. That could be another option. So another option could be you will inform the police or inform any relevant authorities and then ask them to take care of the child. So usually people write these options, right? But seldom they give ethical justifications. Now if you are thinking about informing the police authority or any authority, relevant authority, and requesting them to take care of the child, why are you doing that? Right? So what is the ethical justification for this particular course of action? Right? The people who write ethical justification, now ethical justification can be, maybe one of the theories may be supporting this particular course of action. Right? Second, there may be a Supreme Court observation, directive, a case, right, which can justify your particular course of action. That is both legal and ethical in that moment to do so, right? Or there may be a precedence. Somebody had set an example which was applauded, which was accepted largely by the society. So you are trying to go with that particular course of action. You can quote that also, right? In some cases, you can pick up, lines or thoughts from moral stories or, these Mahabharata, Ramayana, other scriptures also. People have the issue that, don't you think if I read Mahabharata, it is religious thing or something like that? I don't think it is anything to do with the religious, right? So basically, even they are also source of our morality, right? Right. So you can take the best of it. You can quote that also. So this ethical justification, if it is missing in your answer, you will not cross your 100 marks or 90 marks in ethics paper. Second aspect that is missing is pragmatism. So for some reasons, people try to write ideal answers, right? They want to sound more ethical when they are writing. So idealism is not rewarded in your ethics answers. What is idealism? Like, you want to come across as like perfect embodiment of or epitome of all morality and ethics. So no, you are not, you're like straightforward, like there is no like Immanuel Kant, right? So you want to, the means are more important, not the ends. That kind of attitude. So you have to find a way to sound more pragmatic, right? See, so as long as it is not breaking laws, rules or regulations, right? It is within the scope of societal morality or unconstitutional morality. Ensure that your answer has practical touch, right? So not like ideal. Like for example, there was this case about UPSC interview, right? So you're going for UPSC interview, you see an accident victim. So the ideal answer is, you will take the victim, you will go to Gangaram hospital, right? So you will ensure that treatment is given to the victim, right? Because you believe that that is the most humane thing to do in that moment. Even if it is your last attempt and this interview is more important, you want to protect the victim. Of course, the society will applaud, your sacrifice, everything. You might be given some medal or something like that. But that is not the most practical thing to do that, right? You have other options also, practical options, right? So you can arrange a vehicle, ambulance, maybe you can go late to the interview a little bit, but you can make some arrangement, ensure that the victim is really, taken care of in his golden hour or something. But there is a practical way. In any case study, ensure that you don't sound idealistic. The same is evident in the interview answers also. Anybody who gives very ideal answers are not given good marks nowadays. So you have to be someone who can get the things done, right? Somebody who can take quick decisions. Again, the third aspect is out of the box ideas. So instead of giving See, in interview what happens, so when somebody asks the case study, when somebody gives the answer, we say that don't answer like mains ethics case study, right? That I will, if there is a farmer protest is going on, if it gets too violent, you are a SP in charge of that area and you are there in that location, what will you do in that moment? If that is an interview question, so you start giving answer, right? Like I will call for the backup, I'll fire in the air and I will warn the protesters, so not to be violent or something. If they don't listen, I will, one of them I will shoot in the leg or something. I mean, start giving some answer, like, for listeners, it start looking like what you write in the mains. So even in mains, you should not write like that. These are, of course, these are the some of the courses of action you can opt for. But is there something beyond that you can do in that moment? Some of the out of the box idea, right? Something innovative, can you do something about it, the situation? So other people say that I will talk to the leader of the protest, I'll take elders into consideration, right? So I'll take religious heads, if it is a religious violence, into consideration and try to, appeal to them, ask them to, calm the mobs or something, right? So, but the expectation is something more practical in that. Yes. Pardon? Move? Move food stalls. Acha, nice. Has anyone done that? Hmm? So bring ice cream stalls, right? Or distribute money. No, he says he has given an example here, like out of the box, that move food stalls into that particular away. Why away? So they will go to eat, like they disperse. Acha, acha, that is what you are basically starving them. Cut the supply chain. Okay. So in Bangalore also we saw nowadays what they do, they cut the internet immediately, right? So this is one idea, is giving move the food stalls. Even I didn't know about it, away from the protest region, right? So that they don't have anything to eat except goli. So you move away, then they might calm down or something. Then you warn also on mic, there is no food, you stop. So good, I mean you have to think in that direction. And there are so many IAS officers, so many IPS officers across India who have actually implemented certain innovative ways. It can be to address the starvation problem, hunger problem, certain lack of infrastructure, education, health related. So for them, you study the best practices that are there for every theme. So you can categorize all the case studies into themes. For every theme, identify the best practices, innovative, not only in India, across the world also.
Sir, where we can find all these case studies or everything in such a short span of time?
See, like past 10 years, we have 60 case studies in the UPSC only. So if you are somebody who is struggling with speed in ethics paper, my suggestion is take up 6 case studies, put a timer 1.5 hours. You should write in 1 hour 50 minutes, ideally in the exam. But train yourself to write 6 case study answers in 1.5 hours. First, start with this previous year questions. So every week you can sit, like again come to the class, 6 case studies, 1.5 hours. You try to write the answers. So at home we are starting something called as mains 75 days plan from tomorrow, I think. So where we are daily giving 1 ethics answer and 2 GS answers. So this year we are combining ethics come GS also. So every day you can do practice of 3 answers. At least you can do ethics answer practice. You do that, and we are planning to give synopsis of those questions also the very next day, where you can compare your answers. Or also you can take all 3 questions of 7 days, and then again write it as a 3-hour test also if you want. So he asked about case studies. Acha, best practices, see, they are scattered, like, you have to visit like UN websites, certain reports, thematically you have to collect. For example, if it is education, I would visit Finland education ministry website, maybe, right? See what is their education model, which is applauded across the world, right? So maybe Japanese education system, they might have. I think if you can intelligently Google, you will find them.
The timing was also the issue.
So you got the solution. Welcome. You wrote the mains last time.
No, sir.
Hmm?
But whenever I wrote like the test,
Yeah, right.
plan
So
was
coming,
very-
good. So within ethics, the quote-based questions, right? So in the quote-based questions, there should be at least 3 to 4 diamonds visible. So usually you look at the quote, I don't know. Integrity is a value that empowers the human being. Justify with suitable illustration. Integrity is a value that empowers the human being, right? Now when integrity is the value that empowers the human being, justify with suitable illustration, right? So that is for 150 marks. So you know the definition of integrity, right? So here also don't start with integrity is, right? What is the definition? So acting honestly even when across the time and space, correct? So acting honestly across the time and space, even when no one is absent or something like that. So it is being absolutely honest in all kind of circumstances, the integrity, right? Now the question is asking, integrity is a value that empowers the human being. So 150 words you have to write. I said there should be 3 to 4 dimensions in the answer. So instead of starting with definition, integrity is something, you start with, as I said in other introductions, a broad introduction. So what could be better introduction here? 1 or 2 lines. 5A. Refugees should not be turned back to the country where they would face persecution of human right violation. Examine the statement with reference to ethical dimension being violated by the nation claiming to be democratic with open society. So in 2019, I floated a theory that there are questions, trap questions, right? So trap question is some question where it looks like it is inviting you to openly criticize the government, right? So avoid that tendency.